Hallo Mogis, hallo Köln und ein herzliches Willkommen an alle vor den Bildschirmen. Heute ist der Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy, ein Tag, der uns daran erinnern soll, dass genitale Selbstbestimmung ein Menschenrecht ist. Ich danke Mogis für die Einladung und ich danke vor allem euch für euren unermüdlichen Einsatz, Betroffenen sexualisierter Gewalt Gehör zu verschaffen. Was ihr tut, ist wichtig und es wirkt. Keine minderjährige Person darf gegen ihren Willen medizinisch nicht notwendigen irreversiblen Eingriffen unterzogen werden. Ganz gleich ob aus religiösen, kulturellen oder geschlechtsnormierenden Gründen. Solche Eingriffe sind häufig traumatisch. Sie verletzen Körper und Seele und sie verletzen grundlegende Rechte. Deshalb protestieren wir heute. Hier in Berlin, bei euch in Köln und in ganz Europa. Wir fordern heute gemeinsam ein Ende dieser Praktiken und einen rechtlichen Rahmen, der Kinder schützt. Denn als Bundestagsabgeordnete der Linken sage ich klar, Kinderrechte müssen im Zentrum der Politik stehen. Wir brauchen ein Gesetz, das genitale Verstümmelung auch im Falle von sogenannten geschlechtsnormierenden Eingriffen konsequent verbietet, wenn keine medizinische Notwendigkeit besteht. Die Linke steht an der Seite der Betroffenen. Wir kämpfen dafür, dass eure Selbstbestimmung nicht vor dem Operationssaal endet. Für ein Leben ohne genitale Gewalt, für echte Selbstbestimmung. Von Anfang an. Lasst uns so sein, wie wir sind. Danke.
Bei Terre de Femme setzen wir uns dafür ein, dass Frauen und Mädchen ein gleichberechtigtes, selbstbestimmtes sowie freies Leben führen können. Weibliche Genitalverstümmelung, kurz im Englischen FGM, stellt eine gravierende Menschenrechtsverletzung dar und verletzt das Recht auf körperliche Unversehrtheit und Selbstbestimmung. FGM ist ein Resultat tief verwurzelter patriarchaler Strukturen, die Frauen und Mädchen in allen Teilen der Welt unterdrücken. Die Praktik findet immer in einem Kontext statt, in dem Macht und Kontrolle über Frauen und Mädchen ausgeübt wird. Es ist entscheidend, dass wir diese Strukturen erkennen, benennen und aktiv gegen sie vorgehen. Nur gemeinsam können wir die Abschaffung weiblicher Genitalverstümmelung erreichen und eine Welt schaffen, in der jede Frau und jedes Mädchen in Würde und Freiheit leben kann.
Hallo, wir sind die Berliner Koordinierungsstelle gegen FGMC und schicken liebe Grüße nach Köln für den Internationalen Tag für genitale Selbstbestimmung. Wir sind ein Fachteam des Familienplanungszentrums Balance, das für sexuelle Selbstbestimmung und reproduktive Rechte steht. Die Versorgung von FGMC-Überlebenden steht bei uns an erster Stelle. Beraten, begleiten, bestärken ist dabei unsere Herangehensweise. Das Besondere an der Koordinierungsstelle ist, dass hier zum einen eine gynäkologische Praxis mit angesiedelt ist und psychologische Beratung und Begleitung. Zudem bieten wir einmal im Monat eine offene Frauenberatung an und auch Fachkräftefortbildungen zu dem Thema FGMC. Wir gehen auch präventiv gegen FGMC vor. Das bedeutet, wir arbeiten mit Community-Experten aus unterschiedlichen Ländern zusammen, die in ihrer jeweiligen Community aufklären und sensibilisieren. Lasst uns gemeinsam für genitale Selbstbestimmung einsetzen.
Good morning. My name is Fatou Manjandiata alias Sistefa. I work for the Koordinierungsstelle since the beginning of the project because the project came at the right time concerning the issue of child protection here in Berlin. We are talking about 20,000 of girls who are in risk of female genital mutilation. And as I said, our engagement among our community that bring us to organize BCA, which is behavior change activities, to train also the Fachkräfte, to let them know about the danger and also the consequences of FGM is one of our objectives. I am really very happy that the project is continuing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leif Thompson, and I'm a family doctor all the way over from Fairbanks, Alaska. Today, we celebrate a ruling from a German court that established that boys also have a right to be protected from bodily harm. This year's theme for the Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy is equality, which makes this ruling truly something to celebrate. But sadly, within a few short months of this ruling, it was taken away again by the German parliament. Genital cutting was again allowed, uniquely for boys alone, leaving protections only for girls. In Germany, the United States, and every nation in this world, boys do not have a right to their own bodies. In this year, 94 countries in the world have legal protections for girls, 13 for intersex children, but there are no legal protections for boys. So today, when I reflect on equality, I'm thinking of the disparities that boys face in our world, especially when they are deliberately left out of human rights discussions and are neglected by our laws and our institutions. Genital autonomy is not a gender-based right. It is a human-based right. It is the right to choose what is done to one's own genitals and to choose with whom to share them. Simply said, it is my body, my choice. But if it is a fundamental human right to have our genitals protected from those who would cut us, it should not depend on the shape of one's genitals at birth. Currently, we arbitrarily exclude those born with penises from any legal protections. We can't call genital autonomy a human right if it excludes half of all humans. By sheer numbers, boys and men are the group most affected by forced genital cutting. Roughly 30% of the world's boys have their foreskins amputated without their consent, and roughly 1.2 billion men in the world have the most sensitive part of their genitals missing. International efforts to eradicate forced genital cutting continue to almost exclusively be focused on girls. Meanwhile, we are only just beginning to recognize the rights of intersex children. But the time is overdue for us to move to a more inclusive vision, a world where all children, girls, those born intersex, and boys are all afforded the same protections. Equality is the establishment of an ethical and legal structure that does not favor or disadvantage anyone based on sex. If we believe in the value of equality, the shape of a child's genitals is irrelevant to their right to have parts of their genitals protected. Large NGOs like the WHO and the UN, along with numerous governmental organizations, all with mandates to protect all children, use their institutional power to actively exclude boys from their efforts to end forced genital cutting. This exclusion is not based on logic or ethical principles. It's not based on anatomical differences or similarities or the sexual functions of what is to be amputated. It is instead based on a desire to protect the practices of specific religious and cultural groups that are more familiar and vilify others that are more distant. But it is also based on a gender bias resulting from patriarchal systems which view male and female bodies differently. We have constructed a patriarchal mythology that maleness equals power and a man should be strong and impervious to harm, and if he is not, well, he should be. Adult men who were involuntarily cut as children cannot be seen as victims. When men seek help for what had been done to them at a time when they could not say no, they are often discounted, ignored, or even shamed. Or when they speak publicly, they are blamed for taking attention away from women and girls. For adults living with missing parts of their genitals, the parts of their bodies designed to give pleasure, it is only a profound loss. But we only recognize this loss for women. Meanwhile, the circumcision of boys and men is often seen as something to joke about. Think about it. Would we ever make a joke about female genital mutilation? Meanwhile, it's still culturally acceptable to make jokes about circumcision, even while many boys and men experience this as trauma and loss. Why is it that men are made to feel shame for speaking about this? We also distort our reality to think that boys somehow cannot be victims. But boys are just as powerless as girls are when adults hold them down and cut their genitals. The truth is that a boy suffers from violence to his body just like a girl. Boys feel pain and they bleed and they have infections just like a girl. Suffering from violence is not gender specific. Yet, even when far more boys are held down to have their genitals cut, it is only considered gender based violence when it happens to a girl. Why do we believe that holding down a boy and cutting his genitals is somehow not violence? In my advocacy work, I see the harms that boys and men have suffered as a result of something they did not choose. I hear of the psychological and sexual damages of boys who have lost their entire penis and will never be able to have a sexual relationship, or boys who die from bleeding and infection, even in developed nations. I hear of suicides of those who cannot deal with their trauma and loss. And as a Jewish man, I hear of the men who can never fully feel a part of their religion or culture because of the feelings of betrayal. Yes, girls and women suffer from genital cutting, but boys and men suffer too. When I claim that every child deserves a strong protection for their bodies, regardless of sex, that does not mean that we should pay any less attention to the forced genital cutting of girls or intersex children. Advocating for human rights is not a zero-sum game. Saying that we need to protect all children does not mean that we stop protecting girls. To the contrary, I believe that including boys in our discussion will make our efforts not only more egalitarian, it will make our efforts stronger. When we include all children equally in our discussions, we can finally make the claim that human rights are universal and not based on an antiquated patriarchal construct of gender. Our efforts will be stronger because the concept of human rights and genital autonomy will finally and truly be based on a foundation of equality. Here's the vision I would like to leave you with today. Every child is born with a beautiful, unique, and very private flower of their very own. This flower that they and only they can choose to change or not to change when they are ready. It is a flower that they and only they can choose to share or choose not to share when they are ready. It does not matter if the shape of the flower is a penis or a vulva or something else. What truly matters is that it is the child's private flower, not anyone else's. My vision is that every human that ever will be born gets to say, my body, my choice. And our job is to protect these children and their beautiful private flowers from anyone that would claim them for their own purposes and violate what is not theirs. My vision is of a world where all children can grow up to be free from violence to their bodies, regardless of the shape of their genitals. Thank you.
Genital autonomy? What's not to love? What is genital autonomy, you might want to ask? Well, it simply means that you get to make the decisions regarding your private parts, not your spouse, not your parents, not your medical doctor, not anyone else but you, because it's your body, your choice. I'm Lena Nyhus. I'm from Intact, Denmark. We celebrate Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy every year on May 7th. Want to join us?
I am the founder
your choice. I'm Lena Nyhus. I'm from Intact, Denmark. We celebrate Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy every year on May 7th. Want to join us?
I am the founder of Intact Kenya, which is operating in Kenya, and it is the Kenyan chapter of the Intact Network, which is educating Kenyans on why male circumcision should be stopped. Male circumcision has caused a lot of harm to the boys and the men who have been coerced to go for the cut. Now we realized there was a lot of damage, especially to married men who have been interfered with in a manner that some of them cannot get an erection, and this is called the erectile dysfunction. While for the young boys, it violates their right to genital autonomy. Our work in the last few years, we have been moving from one radio station to another to educate Kenyans who are listening to the programs of those radio stations. And we usually educate them, showing them some of the benefits of keeping the foreskin, because the foreskin has several functions which some of the Kenyans, actually the majority, do not know. In most of the radio stations we went to at the beginning, we faced a lot of rejection because of cultural brainwashing in our people. And some of the people also had been given false information about circumcision, giving protection on reducing the risk of HIV/AIDS and causing some other diseases like cervical cancer. But as time goes, we have always educated our listeners that cervical cancer is not caused by the presence or the absence of a foreskin during sexual intercourse with a woman, because there are vaccines which are administered to teenage girls to prevent them from getting cervical cancer in future. Currently, whenever we go to most of the radio stations, we are finding that our listeners are agreeing with what we tell them. They are saying that they have seen the consequences of circumcision and it causes a lot of harm in their sexual lives, because some of them are facing problems like erectile dysfunction, that is the inability to get an erection, or getting an erection that does not last to its desired duration. There was a time we went to Siaya County, and one of the women who were listening to us at that time made a phone call live on the radio station, and she said that about 3 of her grandchildren were forcefully circumcised. They were picked on their way from school and taken to a nearby clinic and circumcised without the consent of the parents. So she said that the work we are doing is very good, and actually she volunteered to assist us do the work. That one is currently happening in most of the places we have gone to. In most of the radio stations these days, because we have a lot of information we have acquired through the years, we are able to give factual information to the listeners to convince them that male circumcision should come to an end. And Kenyans information and coming to agree with us, and majority of Kenyans are now on our side, saying that just as female circumcision is being stopped through legal measures, male circumcision should also be stopped. We are also thanking the international community who have stood with us, giving us several resources to assist us in our work so that we continue with educating the masses in Kenya. Some of the resources that we have received from the international community of activists who are willing to support us are some of the books we have here. We have Unspeakable Mutilations, Circumcised Men Speak Out by Lindsay Watson. We also have this other one, The Final Cut by Jonathan Meddings. Now, we are also requesting the international activist community to send us more resources like more books, more cards, and more pens, and more flyers so that we can distribute to the people whenever we go to the radio stations. There was one time we went to a radio station and a doctor called in accusing us of having little knowledge about circumcision. And we just requested him to give us one function of the foreskin, because a doctor who does not know the function of the foreskin should not be a doctor. So we are going to have the Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy on 7th of May 2024, as this is an annual event which takes place every year. And we wish that the day will go on successfully as usual. So this is our message for the international activist community to celebrate the Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy successfully as we continue educating the people in Kenya. Thank you.
Hallo Mogis, hallo Köln und ein herzliches Willkommen an alle vor den Bildschirmen. Heute ist der Worldwide Day of Genital Autonomy, ein Tag, der uns daran erinnern soll, dass genitale Selbstbestimmung ein Menschenrecht ist. Ich danke Mogis für die Einladung und ich danke vor allem euch für euren unermüdlichen Einsatz, Betroffenen sexualisierter Gewalt Gehör zu verschaffen. Was ihr tut, ist wichtig und es wirkt. Keine minderjährige Person darf gegen ihren Willen medizinisch nicht notwendigen irreversiblen Eingriffen unterzogen werden. Ganz gleich, ob aus religiösen, kulturellen oder geschlechtsnormierenden Gründen. Solche Eingriffe sind häufig traumatisch. Sie verletzen Körper und Seele und sie verletzen grundlegende Rechte. Deshalb protestieren wir heute. Hier in Berlin, bei euch in Köln und in ganz Europa. Wir fordern heute gemeinsam ein Ende dieser Praktiken und einen rechtlichen Rahmen, der Kinder schützt. Denn als Bundestagsabgeordnete der Linken sage ich klar, Kinderrechte müssen im Zentrum der Politik stehen. Wir brauchen ein Gesetz, das genitale Verstümmelung auch im Falle von sogenannten geschlechtsnormierenden Eingriffen konsequent verbietet, wenn keine medizinische Notwendigkeit besteht. Die Linke steht an der Seite der Betroffenen. Wir kämpfen dafür, dass eure Selbstbestimmung nicht vor dem Operationssaal endet. Für ein Leben ohne genitale Gewalt, für echte Selbstbestimmung. Von Anfang an. Lasst uns so sein, wie wir sind. Danke.